What's going on, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Sapphire Nitro Plus RX 470. Now, this is the RX 470. It is based on the Polaris 10 architecture. So this one is featuring 2048 stream processors with an overclocked frequency of 1260 megahertz with 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 running at an effective 7000 megahertz on a 256-bit bus. Now, the Sapphire Nitro Plus variant is quite the unique monster in the fact that it is featuring Sapphire's new Dual X cooling technology. Now, looking at the cooler itself, it does have a black plastic shroud, which is a little bit unfortunate because it does have a metal backplate, which we'll get to momentarily. The good thing I can say about it is very thick, very robust plastic. It does not feel cheap at all. And then when you move along the side of the card, you'll see that it is a very nice looking shroud with silver accents and a full RGB Sapphire logo. With this Sapphire logo, it is fully controllable through their new Trix 3.0 software, where you can go in and configure in various settings for the LEDs, or you can set a static color or even turn it completely off if you wish to. Now, located right above there on the back of the card is the VBIOS switch, as well as an LED mode switch. Now, the LED mode switch is if you don't want to use that additional software, but you still want some control over the RGBs. The VBIOS has a quiet mode and then the overclocked mode. So one has the default clock speeds and the other one has the overclocked speeds of 1260 megahertz on the core. Now, flipping over to the back, you'll see a full aluminum backplate, which is quite nice. It's silver and black and gray and is very stylized, but still can match most systems. Now, this again is fully aluminum, unlike the shroud, which is plastic, but they do complement each other fairly well. Now, one thing very interesting that Sapphire did with the fans is they implemented their fan check technology, which through the Strix software you can actually check the fans to see if they're still good, and if there is a problem with either one of the fans, it'll kick back a detection and allow you to start an RMA process on the fans. Now, you can replace individual fans if there's ever a problem, or just simply remove them for cleaning by using one screw on each fan, and then it comes right out. It actually makes for extremely good cooling. And one of the interesting things is once you take that out, you'll realize that the heatsink is actually only about 2/3 of the width of the video card, which is a bit unfortunate. I would have loved to have seen this design be like a full, thick, heavy design cooler. But the thing is with the orientation of the fins is it ejects a lot of the heat out of the back of the card and a fair bit out the back of the case. And what it doesn't exhaust through there, it actually pushes straight through these vents on the back plate to help dissipate that heat and keep it from soaking in there, because the side you'll see is solid, and with the 8-pin being on the back, it keeps a very clean profile, but still allows for the heat to come out of the card. Now, as far as performance goes, we did take this card and we've got regular stock performance with the OC mode on the VBIOS, but we also did go through and tweak it a bit on our own using the Trix software, and we're able to get the core clock up to 1425 megahertz. Very stable with just a little bit of voltage and added power limit. Now, for those tests, we did set up a custom fan curve to keep the card's temperatures in check, and what we saw were some fairly good gains. Now, those will be included in all of the results we're about to look at, but first let's take a quick look at the test setup itself. It features an Intel Core i5 6600K at 4.5 gigahertz, an 860 watt power supply, a Z170 LMAX Gaming 5 motherboard from Gigabyte, 16 gigabytes of G.Skill Trident Z RAM at 3200 megahertz, and a Crucial MX 100 512 gig SSD. So that's the test system that we use to test this card, alongside and put it up against an 8 gigabyte RX 480 Factory Reference Edition, as well as a GTX 1060 Founders Edition, to see kind of where it comes in, because it's priced a little bit higher than I would like to see for a 470 card. It comes in at $209.99 at the time of this video, which is $10 higher than a reference 4 gigabyte 480, provided you can even find one, but it still does come in under the price of all of the 480s that I could find in stock. So we'll see where this $210 graphics card falls in line when compared to the $240 and up RX 480 and the $250 and up GTX 1060. So let's take a look at those results and see where she lands. All right, so those were the gaming results, and you see that at stock it was a little bit behind, but once you overclocked it, it came in line with the 8GB RX 480, which is quite impressive because this is a cut down variant, and it is, well, it's clocked pretty high, I'll be honest. But let's take a look at the temperature as well as the power. Now, when you look at the temperature, remember that the stock is with the stock fan curve where the fan doesn't go over 31%. And the overclocked was running with the fan at about 55% to 60% under full load, which was still fairly quiet, but you'll see where the temperatures fall in line between stock and overclocked and where the power draw comes in play. Now, see, that kind of changes the story here because stock and overclock, this thing sucks down quite a bit more power than the RX 480, but it does run a bit cooler. The one thing that I did find after playing around with it, and if you were looking at this card, I would highly recommend that you do the same, is to take a few minutes or about an hour, or just as you're playing, modify the fan curve as well as the voltage limit, turn down the voltage a fair bit, as well as upping the power limit and changing the fan curve. Because what I found was at stock frequencies, now we're saying leave it at 1260, because when you leave it as it comes out of the box, that core clock is going to fluctuate quite a bit. Go about plus 20 on the power limit, reduce the voltage about 20-25 millivolts, as well as change to a custom fan curve and allow the fan to get up to around 50%. And you're going to find at stock frequencies, remember 1260 megahertz, this card stayed in the mid 50s. So the highest I believe I saw it under about an hour and a half of Battlefield 1 was 61C with that particular fan curve. So unfortunately, out of the box, it's got a little bit of wiggle room, which is good as for the tinkerer, because you can go in and actually improve this card, reduce the power draw, improve the performance, and get really good results out of it. So for $210, this is an absolutely solid card. It isn't perfect. It does come with that out of the box issue as far as having a bit higher than desired power draw, but the performance is there. It can easily overclock to match the performance of an RX 480, which again, I know a lot of people want to compare it to those reference card pricing, but finding those reference cards is a lot harder to do these days. Well, again, I don't have any problem recommending the Nitro Plus RX 470 from Sapphire for your 1080p gaming needs. This has been Keith with WCCF Tech TV. Feel free to like and subscribe to this video, and we'll catch you all in the next one.